In this video, we are doing pressure canning. We're going to be doing what I call a meal, or as other people refer to it as meal in a jar, which is quite all right. It's very handy to have, especially if you get home exhausted and you just don't want to mess with cooking an entire meal. It's ready to go. Originally, this was supposed to be a hot canning video, but things had occurred throughout the making of this particular video, so I turned it into a cold pack or cold canning. Some people call it raw canning. My meat is browned, it's not raw. So I'm calling it cold canning. The jars had time to cool all the way down, the meat was refrigerated, and the potatoes, which were boiled for 10 minutes, were also refrigerated, and I threw ice in there to help cool them down quicker. They worked out great. No problems. Everything tested clear. So, with no further ado, here's the video. Alrighty, here's what we're going to need to make this meal in a jar. The new thing in here is the pressure canner. The water canner is to sterilize the jars. Of course, a pot for the lids, the frying pan, etc. And your jar grabber. Now I have boiled the jars for 10 minutes. I'm taking them out and I'm placing them on a towel, as you see. And they are going to have to cool down before I can use them. I'm prepping my meat for getting ready to do this cold canning. The meat itself, especially with beef, you want to brown it. If you don't, when you pull it out of the pressure canner, the beef's going to appear gray. That usually happens with any kind of red meat. I'm using ghee, which I have made, and I will do a video on how to make ghee, to brown my meat. I just happen to like it better. It does have a little bit of a nutty flavor to it, so it just is very preferable to me. You can use regular cooking oil, a couple tablespoons of cooking oil if you want. Now you want the meat browned, just browned, not cooked all the way through. I'm putting them on some towels, so it can help get the grease out of. The potatoes were boiled for 10 minutes just to help get some of the extra starch out. Now that everything's cooled, distribute your meats into the jars evenly. And I'm packing it down. You want to pack it down really good. Next, I'm adding some seasonings. This is one I just happened to come across that I like. It's a marinade. And I put a teaspoon in each jar. Now for the potatoes. Get those separated into the jars evenly. Again, pack them down. Just because you boiled them for 10 minutes, they're not squishy yet. So as I'm getting that out there and packing them down, and the reason the water in them is cloudy and not clear as before is because I had to put it aside to cool. Alright, now I'm taking some frozen vegetables, mixed vegetables, and putting them in there. I'm adding a tablespoon of Worcestershire sauce. And then, you can tell I move stuff and get it out of my way as I cook. I'm going to put beef broth in there. I had pre-measured, so I had an idea of where 1 inch is. 1 inch is very important with this. And I will end up with my tool. What I'm doing now is I'm getting bubbles out. You just run the tool down the side of the jar. And as you can see, the fluid is going down. And that's because bubble and air are coming up. So after I'm getting done with doing all these jars, I'm going to again add some more beef broth to bring it up to 1 inch. With pressure canning, you know, they say, oh, good enough for government work. you want to be a little under than a little over. I'm cleaning the rims with vinegar, putting the lids, which were also heated up and cooled down, putting the rings on finger tight, very important. Placing the jars that are cold into the cold canner. Never mix hot and cold. Right there, I'm trying to check for if I got light coming through my top vent. I did, but unfortunately my camera didn't catch it. Always check the top of your lid that your vent is clear. Now I'm lining up the arrows. And because these things are made the way they are, sometimes it takes a little finagling until you find that sweet spot. It falls into place. Lock the canner. Alrighty, and then turn on your heat to high. And you wait until it starts to boil and vent. Now here we go. My pop-up has come up, so I know I've got pressure in the pot. I have a full set of steam coming through the vent top there. 10 minutes later, for venting, I can safely now put my weight on. And you can see I'm checking it to make sure it'll wiggle. Make sure that the weight's properly seated. 5 to 15 minutes later, it's built up enough pressure that you can see that little rocker just going nuts. I know it's time to turn the heat down. I've got it, and I'm turning the heat down. And because I've canned so much, I just know exactly where on my stove I want to put it. I'll finagle it a little bit in case with that many jars the weight starts to stutter and not just continuously rock and sound like a little choo-choo train. I may turn it up a little bit if required, and that's what I'm doing right now is I'm just bumping it. 1 hour, 30 minutes later. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. All right, so right at the hour and 30-minute mark, which was the cooking time for the canner, we lost power. Fortunately, I have a gas stove, but we lost the cameras. It was, yeah, all you YouTubers out there that are creating content, mad respect. So, what happens next is I turn the heat off. I let the canner cool down till the pressure gauge, which is that little pop-up gauge I keep pointing out to you, went down. At that point, I knew my pressure was at 0 and it was safe to remove the weights from my canner top. I let it cool down another 30 minutes more after that and open the canner, remove the jars, and the video takes up after I've done 5 of the 6 jars, taking the rings off, putting the little cloth on top and tying it, and that's where we start up again. This is cooled down. I've labeled the jar, what it is, beef, potato, and veggies. Put the date on it. This comes off. This is on there good, this is on there good. Alright, put the little cloth on it. Yes, the cloth is a little dirty, spinning. I reuse my cloths. Alright. I put the little tie on it, snug it down, bring it over, and tie my loop. And it's done. Ready to be put up.